Joining me this week on the podcast is Tim Urban. You've seen him on American Idol. He also plays different local spots around the Metroplex. Tim and I had a great conversation. We talked about, obviously, him being on American Idol. We talked about the decision to just kind of, leave fame behind, or the attempt of fame behind, and build a family and a marriage, and just we both kind of vibed both off of that, because I did kind of the same thing, and we just dive into a lot of fun topics. So make sure you check this episode out. Obviously you are, because you're listening to it right now. Dates that I have coming up: I will be at Hyenas Comedy Nightclub in Dallas on March 24th. I will be at Rollertown Beer Works in Salina, Texas on March 26th. And I'll be at the Addison Improv on March 30th. All right, guys, enjoy this episode.
Hey, are you talking about back in the day?
Nah, man. I'm talking about back in the day.
Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day.
Joining me today on the Back in the Day podcast, you've seen him on American Idol. He performs all over the Metroplex and different places, is Mr. Tim Urban. How are we today, Tim?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. You said you were exhausted. You had a big day today, right?
It's one of those things where I feel like I should be more exhausted than I am. Like, I know my body, when I get in bed, it's just going to stop. It's just going to stop working. It's going to be out. But, long day, lots of work, which I will not complain about.
For sure.
But, just one of those days where you're running all over and, you have this to look forward to at the end of it. So I was excited about it.
Sweet, man. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but if you Google your name, if you Google your name, like, there's a whole sub thing just about your abs. Did you know that?
Story time here. There's more than just a little something just about my abs. So when I was on the show, I was right after I did this talent scouting thing.
Okay.
And part of it was like a swimsuit, right? Basically, you're going out in front of agents, modeling, stuff like that. So I put in a ton of work. I was working out like a crazy person. And you go out there, and then they take pictures while you're on this runway. So those pictures, obviously, when I got on American Idol, it was like, Google this, Tim Urban, this is what pops up. Well, I had some fans who were amazing, but they made Twitter accounts for different parts of my body.
Okay.
So there was Tim Urban's abs, there's Tim Urban's pecs, Tim Urban's arms, my hair flip, Tim Urban's smile. I had a red G-Shock that I wore all the time. There was a Tim's red G-Shock. It was a Twitter account.
Who had the most followers? Which body part?
Probably the pecs or the abs.
The pecs or the abs?
Yeah. Well, and so it was weird, because then there was like breaking that third wall on tour. This girl comes running up to me with a cardboard cutout of me shirtless, and she says, "Hey, Tim, I'm your pecs." And I was like, I don't really, is that your name? Like, I don't know what to say to this. I was like, no, you're not, but hi. So it's just weird, because she's like holding up me without a shirt on. So that whole thing was hilarious. And then Ellen, when I did her show afterwards, she surprised me. She put those pictures on all of the screens in the studio. She said, he has more talents than just singing. And then boom,
all of your stuff, every body part,
just boom. And I was like, fantastic.
Like, I'm more than just my body, guys.
No, at the time I was like, whatever,
whatever
right?
gets me booked.
Fine.
Yeah, like whatever gets me booked. Exactly. More follows. Yeah. I need to stay around.
Oh man.
I'll start. Guys, I'm gonna break you the news too. I am all those Twitter accounts. Like,
oh man, yeah. No, it was such a bizarre thing to see that happen, and then you're like, it's weird for like the first couple weeks, and then people start messaging you. You start to interact with them, and you're like, oh, these are just fans. Like, they just found kind of a silly thing to attach themselves to, and honestly, most of them turned out to be just awesome people, just kind of fun people, and they were just having a good time and no big deal. And they actually did some policing of it, because there were a couple people who tried to make some like really inappropriate body parts, and like my fans tore them apart. Yeah, like, just
pecs were all over them.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, this is actually kind of cool, because they're like got my back, in this weird way. So very, very bizarre. That whole thing was just such a bizarre thing.
Because how long did that last? So you're on the show, you go onto it, you do the audition, then you're on the show, and then after that's the tour, right? So like from start to finish, how long is that? That's about...
Man, it was a long process. So first of all, I auditioned as a joke.
Okay.
People kept bugging me about auditioning.
Tell me, back that. Why were you auditioning as a joke?
So I was starting to do music, starting to play around DFW a little bit, and I actually did a couple things to maybe try to get me out to LA and do some stuff like that casting thing, right? That was kind of pre-Idol. Well, I was doing all of that, and then buddies were like, you need to try it out for American Idol. My family watched it, and I was like, no, like 100,000 people audition every year, and like 10 people make it to where you might remember them. And they were like, you got to do it. And I said, if it comes to Dallas, I will audition, just so you guys will leave me alone. And I remember my buddy Chad, he sent me a text. He's like, hey, they're coming to the new Cowboys Stadium. We got to go. And I was like, fine, I'll go with you. So I just auditioned to that. I thought there was no chance I'm making it. And when you do the first audition, it's literally on the floor of the Cowboys Stadium.
And it's just for a producer usually, right? It's not for,
And it's 4 in a row. People, you walk up, there's like 3 people with you. You each sing like 10 seconds of a song. And I must have walked up to the right producer because there were 4 girls in front of me. I saw them. A couple of them could sing pretty well. And I was like, okay, nope. All of them got sent home. I'm in a group with 3 girls. I don't know who they are. It just randomly worked out that way. I'm the only one that went through. They didn't make it through. After I made it through, I kind of turned around and watched the next group. 4 more girls. There's way more girls try out for this thing, guys. They went up. I listened to a couple of them. I'm like, surely at least one of these. Nope, none of them. They all got sent. And I think it's because I had a Justin Bieber haircut and I sang the song "Just the Way You Look Tonight."
Okay.
So it was. The producer was kind of like, "What? What did I just hear?" Like that was a bizarre thing to come out of that.
Because how old were you?
I was 19 when the process started.
Okay.
But so this was weird. The first one, so you do that first round of auditions, and then they're like, "Cool, we'll be in touch," and then nothing for like 2 months. And I'm like, I guess nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, we'll be back. We're at the W Hotel in Dallas for the next 2 rounds. I'm like, okay. So you show up there, and there's like 400 people there, 500 people there. All in one day, you go 1 round in front of a set of producers, another set of producers. If you make it past that, you go up to the top to the executive producers. It looks like the full TV setup in there. So I make it through both of those rounds, and then they're like, we'll be in touch. I'm like, okay, when? I don't know. Couple months later, like at least a month later, nothing. And then they're like, hey, we're doing the final auditions. And I was like, this is the most bizarre process ever. It's taking literally like months and no idea. And then it's like, just be here. And I was like, okay.
And that was in Dallas too, the next round?
Yeah, it was. But they were both at the W Hotel. The second two were both at the W Hotel. So I went there with my family. It was just one of those really bizarre things. You know, you go up there, you sing, they put you through, and it's like, it's weird, you know?
Yeah.
But we got a dog out of it.
What do you mean you got a dog?
We got a dog because for years. I grew up in a family. There's 10 kids in my family. Okay, it's 5 boys, 5 girls. We were all homeschooled. It's a whole thing.
Well, y'all were a small 1A high school.
Not a small 1A high school. We were,
exactly. Y'all had your own 6-man football team.
Almost. So big family, but we never had pets. And we always, bug my parents, can we please get a dog? And then we get there, we're in the lobby about to audition, and my dad's like, hey guys, he huddles us up. He goes, if Tim makes it through, we're getting a dog, and we're going to name it Elvis. And I said, so what I'm going to do is if I make it, I'm going to burst through the doors, and I'm going to yell Elvis. So I burst through the door and I yell Elvis. Well, then my mom, who didn't want the dog in the first place, is like, no, we're going to get a girl dog and name her Sandy. And I was like, I don't care. We got a dog. It's fine. So, yeah, we got a dog out of that part of the process. And then you're like, that's just the first part.
Yeah.
And then I got sent home in Hollywood Week.
Oh, really?
I got kicked off the show.
Why did they kick you off the show? Like they voted you off?
They just sent me home on the very last round of cuts in Hollywood Week.
So they send you home, but then somehow you got back onto it.
Yeah, I got brought in as an alternate. Some other guy got kicked off the show before that went live, and they flew me out and put me on the show.
Nice.
So the whole time I'm just sitting here like, I probably shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like that, literally going through my head, the entire process is, I'm probably not good enough to be here.
So, okay, we don't have to like deep into American Idol. I'm sure you've had to talk about that a lot. And but I wanted to talk with the American Idol, like, what was it like? So you're 19, 20-ish. You're in LA. Are you on your own there? Like, no, like parents aren't coming with you. And I'm sure with a big family like that, you're probably really, really close with your family.
Yeah, that was weird. It was the most lonely experience I've ever had in my life. Because I went from big family, right? Yeah. Friends. And then you get out to LA and literally it was crickets. Like nobody talk to me. I was getting some messages from people, but not close friends. It was like people who all of a sudden were like, "Hey, remember
What's
me?"
up, man? Remember when we used to hang out?
But people who knew me, it was like nothing. Crickets. I found out later they're like, "Yeah, we didn't want to bug you," and I was like, "Yeah, bug me,
Please,
next time."
yeah. If this happens again,
I'm just
bug
sitting
me.
around. Literally, I'm just sitting around all day because it's not that much.
Yeah.
You know, even when you're on the show, you know, there's a couple hours of stuff here, hours of stuff there, and then, you know, but it's not like all day, every day is absolutely packed. So it's just one of those things where it was like, I was very, very lonely, and everybody was just like, "Yeah, we were just giving you space," and I was like, I didn't want space. I had all I could handle. It was just me. So it was weird like that because, you know, you wouldn't know just watching the show.
So was it weird, like when you were done with the show, you come back, were there people that tried to, I asked someone this the same question, where they try to like make you more like that you were closer to them than you really were? Because I'll give you an example, okay? When I got out of college and I moved back to Dallas, I was doing like commercials and like really small film stuff. And when I would go to like parties with people that I went to high school with that were never nice to me, they were all just like, "Oh, what's up, bro?" You know, and like dapping me up whenever. I was like, I'm not going to be rude back to you, but like, we're not tight at all. Like,
I know you.
And I have not accomplished anything. Like, I'm like very small stuff. So I can imagine being on the show like that. Was it, when you came back, was it weird where people trying to treat you on this, put you on this like pedestal type thing?
So the first thing my mom said to me when I flew back and I landed and I walked in the house, first thing my mom did to me, said to me, she said, "Well, Tim, there's some dishes you can go do." Because growing up, I always did the dinner dishes. That was like my chore. So my family, who I went to school with, right? Like they were just, it was back to normal. Like treating me like nothing had happened. I didn't have a lot of friends. Well, I probably had a few, right? Who were kind of like, "Hey, what's up?" But to me, honestly, I'm like, if I don't know you that well, I'm not really going to bother with this, right? Like, I'm just trying to do stuff. And I was making plans to move out to Los Angeles. And so I was like, I'm not here for a long time. I had already decided I was going to move out there. So for me, it was just like, handle my business and then leave.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too much of that. I guess, thankfully. I don't know. It was kind of a weeding out process. Because like basically through the whole process, I ended up realizing I had a lot of people that I knew, but a lot of people that weren't really like close friends with.
Yeah.
It was more just like, I know you. And then after that process, you're like, I don't know if I really want to go back to like pursue friendship that we never really had to begin with. So it's kind of nice that way, I guess. In a way, you sort of figure out where exactly you stand with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was, I don't know. You go back. The biggest thing was my family, and they were just like, "Yeah, you're back. Go do some dishes.
Yeah, we
like,
actually got your new dish brush.
We don't care. Move on."
Yeah.
You know, and that actually helped me a lot.
How did you end up going to LA?
Yeah. I moved out to Los Angeles for 3 years. Yeah, just about 3 years. I lived kind of all over Orange County. I was trying to. I had an agency. I signed with CAA out there right after the show, because you're on the show, you get signed with CAA. And I was out there trying to do auditions, trying to do acting primarily, trying to do some music, recorded some stuff, worked with some people, and realized it is such a shady business.
Yeah.
I was so naive because you don't know what you don't know. And all through the process, they're like, "Oh, you made top 10. You're going to have like this big career and all that." And then you get off the show and it's like, no, that's not how this works. You attract kind of shady people and some sketchy people. And then you're like, man, a manager is not a manager. Like, they're not all created equal. They're not all good. Some of them are really bad. Like, it was a lot. And then I also realized I'm like, I am a tiny fish in a giant pond in Los Angeles. When I'm walking out of an audition and then I know the guy walking into me because I just saw his movie in the theaters and he's auditioning for the same role I am, probably good here. Like, even if I crush it. And I had a couple auditions. Callbacks, producers. I had a producer jump out of the chair. And it was for like a recurring role, not even anything big. Jumped out of the chair. It's like, "You're perfect for this." I didn't hear anything. Hit my agent up a couple weeks later. She's like, "Yeah, they decided to go with someone with more credits." It's like, okay.
You knew my credits going into
Yeah,
this.
like it's on the resume. It says American Idol and then nothing. Like, I don't know what to tell you here, but you brought me in. So once I saw that, I was like, I'm not going to build a resume here. and probably have more opportunities to do stuff in Dallas. And I wanted to marry my fiance who was back in Dallas.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you ended up moving back to Dallas.
Yes.
Are you lived in Dallas most of your...
Yeah. I grew up here. I was
Grew up
born
in
in
Dallas?
Washington State,
Okay.
but my family moved down here when I was 5, so this has been home.
Okay. And so you said were you homeschooled all of school?
Whole way through. Did
Okay.
a handful of college, like community college credits the last year and a half or so, like literally a handful. But that was it. So it was homeschooled the whole way.
Did you enjoy that? Did you play? Okay. Some people do like the homeschool where then they go and they play sports with other homeschool. Did you do that?
I got to play a little bit of sports. That's the biggest thing that I wish I would have gotten to do more of. I wanted to play sports desperately, and it drove me nuts that I couldn't because I've been pretty athletic my whole life. And
Yeah, you got a thing, Twitter accounts
Right.
about your abs. You know, just to, so.
Yeah. So I've always been kind of athletic, and I thought, and also realistic. I'm like, high school sports is the peak that I can look forward to. Like, I'm not getting bigger. I'm not going to ever be like 6'5", 230. Never. So I'm like, basically, my only opportunity to play this and actually feel like I'm okay is probably high school. So that frustrated me that I didn't get to do that. But honestly, looking back on it, I'm glad. There's so much. This is a personal opinion here, right?
Okay.
There's so much drama and unnecessary drama that you invite, and a lot of people invite into their life just because they're around a ton of other idiot teenagers.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and just even like youth sports.
Yeah.
People are crazy.
Yes,
Do you have kids?
I do. I have 2 girls.
How old are they?
They're 5 and 7.
5 and 7. Okay, so I have a 4 and an 8-year-old.
Yep.
Both girls. And even just like the 8-year-old is starting to play sports a little bit, and even just, I mean, I've gotten kind of really amped up in their games too. Like the parents are the people
Yeah.
that are the craziest people with all that stuff.
Yeah, I've been so kind of nervous about that. Now, my girls take after my wife, who is a ballet dancer. So they like to do ballet, and she teaches a little ballet class for my kids and some nieces, nephews, mostly nieces, and then friends. And so they have like a little class, and that's kind of their organized. It's not athletics, right? But that's their
But it's
organized
something.
activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not going to get crazy because it's my wife, and she's not like a crazy Russian ballet teacher who's, like that's not her vibe at all. So, that's kind of their thing. But yeah, youth sports is insane.
It's so insane. I have a cousin that's like 12 years younger than I am, and I remember when he was like 8 or 9, they were traveling every weekend to play baseball. It's like he didn't even end up playing high school baseball because he was so done with it by the time he got to high school.
Yeah.
And like all this stuff, people are crazy. Like the parents, I coached youth basketball and youth football in South Dallas for a few years. And I just remember the people at the football, not so much the basketball, but football, they were insane about those games.
It's a religion for
I know.
some people. And a lot of people, honestly, are walking around living very unfulfilled lives, and they're looking for something to take it out on. And unfortunately, a lot of it ends up being their kids.
Yeah.
And they try to live vicariously. And it's like, man, you need to handle some of these things before you let your kid play football.
Exactly.
And ruin their life.
So you're growing up, didn't play really sports too much. How did you get into music? Was it something that you always like were, some kids can sing growing up, or doing it in church or whatever? Like, what was the steps for you?
So I didn't really do almost anything. I picked up the guitar when I was like 15. My dad had a guitar. I picked it up and I just started teaching myself, right? I've never had lessons for any of this stuff. A handful of voice lessons later on. But I just started playing just because it was fun. We had a chord chart in the back room and I just picked it up. And I played in church a little bit. But honestly, I wasn't very good. Like
No?
I wasn't, no. I was not like naturally very good.
Like, not a good singer or not a good guitar player?
Yes.
Or both? Both? Yeah.
So I just genuinely, I didn't like wake up and have a voice. I've had to like basically work and train to learn how to sing and find a voice. So it always kind of amazed me when I meet people and it's like, yeah, I've been singing like this since I was 9. And I was like, what? And that was the thing with American Idol. I was really barely getting started and I didn't even know what I was doing singing wise. So I'm sitting there and like every week they're kind of like, hey, that wasn't very good or whatever. And I'm like, I know. I'm trying.
I just started
Yes.
like 3 years ago.
Right.
Leave me alone.
And I don't know what I'm doing because it's like working out. It's a muscle. It's like a skill. Some people, it's basically it's athletics, right?
Yeah.
Some people are just freak athletes, and you can. But if you're not, but you're like fit, you can learn how to do different things. It doesn't come naturally, but if you put in the time, you can learn how to do it. And so I always had a little bit because you can't be tone deaf, right? You got to have something to be able to sing, but it really did not sound very good. Genuinely. I recorded a first terrible little album years ago, and I don't even know if there's any copies left, but I remember listening to it years afterwards going, what was I doing? I should never have recorded this. But, you just didn't know. You're just kind of in the process. So that was the thing about American Idol that was frustrating. And then I'm like, I know, I'm trying to get better.
I did this for the dog.
Yes, I genuinely, I didn't think I would be here. I don't deserve to be here. I know that. You know that. I'm not voting for myself. That was the thing. It was like every week I was like, I'm fine if I go home because I'm pissing off other contestants. Every contestant I beat definitely thinks they're better than me because they are. I knew that the whole time.
You keep winning. You just look at the camera.
Yes.
I don't get it either, guys.
The very first live show, one of the judges literally said, we made the right decision to send you home in Hollywood. Basically, you don't deserve to be here. So we got to the elimination show. It's the very end of it. Me and this other guy stand up, and he'd done better than me. And they were like, the person going home, and they said the other guy's name. The look on my face was, I was shocked. I was like, what just happened? I should be going home right now. And I wasn't. So, but that was the other thing that happened is right after the live show, we're getting ready for the tour, and they bring in a vocal coach to work with us for the tour because we're going to do 42 shows in 2 months.
And y'all were doing arenas, right?
Yeah. And so they brought in a coach to help us make sure our voice could last. And this dude in 1 hour actually showed me what singing was. I sang significantly better on that tour than I ever did on the live show. And my voice has gotten significantly better since then. And I'm like, why didn't you bring him in at the start? Genuinely, 1 hour, totally different voice. So
Because they give you voice coaching while you're on the show?
Kind of. They have some people who are helping you out, but they're not doing intense voice lessons with you. They're giving you some pointers here and there, but it's not I don't know. It at least wasn't for me. They weren't doing extensive work with vocal coaches throughout the process. So, and I mean, it is what it is. I'm not mad about it. It was just kind of funny that I'm like, then do you bring this guy in now? I could have helped the live show a lot better, but whatever.
Oh, well, their decision, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you said, okay, it's 15-ish, you start picking up a guitar, start playing. And then you said before you went on to American Idol, you were starting to do music around Dallas. Where were you doing shows? Were you doing
not far
shows?
from here?
Deep Ellum shows?
Yeah, Deep
and
Ellum.
stuff?
Back in the day, the Door.
Okay.
The Prophet Lounge. Remember that place?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay,
if I
it was
remember
the
that
small stage at the door. It was like a side stage.
Okay.
And I did a couple shows at the door with some friends. We put together a little band and just kind of goofing off. So I did a little bit of that. I really started playing in front of people when I was 17, 18, and then American Idol was 19, right? So it's just kind of just getting started, kind of goofing off, trying stuff.
So you're doing that's got to be kind of a mind, that's got to mess with your mind a little bit where you go to those arena shows. Are those sold out? Are you playing AAC style places? Okay,
we
it's
played the
15,
AAC.
20,000 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was the largest live show you had done before that?
I mean,
80 people, 100, couple hundred people?
Okay, so that talent search kind of contest I told you about that the photos came from, there was a music portion of it. And I actually think I won something there. But I got to perform there, and they had a big auditorium, and it was probably, 500 people maybe. So that was the biggest. I played one song, and that was for 500 people, and that was the biggest one I'd ever done. And I mean, that's pretty big. But nothing compared to a stadium filled with people, an arena filled with people. It's a totally different world. And yeah, I don't know. It was addictive.
I can imagine, yeah.
And just, it was the most amazing thing to get to do that.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. All right. Name of the show is called Back in the Day.
Yep.
So I focus on different topics each season that I go over, specific topics.
Mm-hmm.
This season I'm going over Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you remember
guess.
your wrong guess? That's fine. Do you remember your first date?
So the reason I kind of laughed when you text me this that's kind of the main thing, and is because I've dated 2 people in my life. I married the second one.
Okay.
All right, and the first one I was just kind of stupid. I didn't date anyone until I was like 18. The first person I dated, and she was fine. She was great. Nope, like she was cool. I was an idiot. Didn't know what I was doing. Just didn't know what I was looking for. I was like, this is the first person I've ever dated in my life. And then American Idol happened. It was during that. I actually broke up with her while I was on American Idol. I think some people thought I did that so I could like play the field and like have fun in LA and not feel guilty about it. No. I just knew like that relationship wasn't going to work out. And I was like, I'm just not going to drag this along any further. I'm just going to kind of stop this.
Yeah.
And then also I still don't know what I'm doing and I'm not like dating around. So that's the thing. I've dated like 2 people. And my wife, we knew each other for a few years. We didn't date. And then after we sort of reconnected when I was on American Idol, but we always knew there was something there. And then it didn't work out. American Idol happened after the live show. We were just kind of texting, talking. And then literally like after that, we just started talking all the time, phone calls, all the time. And then we were like, holy cow, there's something here.
Yeah.
So this is how bad I am at traditional dating. All right. When I got back to Dallas, I was like, I'm moving to LA. So we had like a couple months. We were just kind of like hanging out, kind of, I guess, dating, just spending time together. And then I was going to move to LA and she was going to help me drive out to LA because it drove out, right? It's like 2 days driving.
Yeah.
So she was like, yeah, I'll drive with you, right? So fall asleep and die. I got in the car and we had been fairly serious. We're like, hey, there's something here. And I looked at her and this is almost word for word. I said, Kate, I think I want to marry you, but there's a lot of things that we need to talk about because I need to figure out whether or not we're actually compatible as humans. Because I like you, you're fun, beautiful, all of that. But we need to talk about a bunch of things that are going to be far more important than that. So we did. For like 2 days of driving across Texas and all the way out to California.
And just asked a bunch of questions.
Yep.
And
covered everything.
hashed it out.
I would have married her when we got to LA. And the plan was that I was just going to get settled in LA, figure some stuff out, and then, bring her out. We were going to get married. It just didn't work out that way. So it'd be 3 years of just kind of frustratingly trying to sort stuff out. And then finally I was like, I'm just going home.
Yeah. Move back so you can.
We were married
her.
I moved back. I think we got married like within a week of me being back. We planned it while I was in LA. It was, yes. So like my dating experience
is almost nothing.
Yes, genuinely, it's almost
so
nothing.
let's move back to the one that you broke heart because now you're Mr. Holly. No, I'm just
yes.
Was it an awkward breakup at all? Did she think that's what you were trying to do? Did she think that was what was going on? Like, did she try to like?
When I tell you that I was the absolute bad guy in this situation, I mean that genuinely. I was an idiot. I broke up with her over a text.
Okay.
Well, because like I had no idea what I was doing.
How long had y'all dated that you broke up with her over a text?
I mean, a handful of months. Like it wasn't like we were dating for years, right? It
Yeah.
was like not a super, super long time. And almost most of our relationship was long distance because we knew each other in Dallas. And then her family moved to Idaho.
Oh, okay.
So we like text back and forth. I think I went up there once to like visit and then everything was long distance. So texting was like how we communicated almost everything, right? Or phone calls. And we were just in the middle of a text conversation and I don't remember what I said. And then I like tried to call her to kind of talk to her about it and she just didn't answer. And I was like, yeah, I probably wouldn't answer too. Cool. So like it's all me, 100%.
Was that it? That's at end of the conversation. Like never communicated after that.
Like maybe a little bit of communication
But
after
not
that,
much.
but no, not much. And genuinely like I don't feel like it's all me. Like she was probably very mad and annoyed and frustrated, and there were I think there were people who genuinely thought that I did that so that I could just go, goof off and screw around in Los Angeles.
Yeah, people make up their own
Yeah.
assumptions about stuff.
Well, and that's what was in front of me in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And honestly, I at one point I was close to that, just kind of jumping off that. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I thankfully, I think I like to learn from other people's mistakes. I still make a fair bit myself, but I watched other people decide that they were going to enjoy what American Idol and the brief moment of fame can offer you. And then it seemed miserable. And I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, no thanks.
It doesn't look, and also like I knew Kate and we were starting talking. I was like, I'm not messing this up. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it was like, there was probably a month window.
So did y'all go on like a first date, or was it just like y'all easing into a relationship through like a friendship that turned into a relationship?
So I don't know what an official first date would have been, but there was. I've always been an odd kind of eccentric human being. So I do remember that this is like the awkward date, the weirdest date, and this is all my fault, but I knew that going into it. I've always been kind of an odd dude.
Yeah.
So we went out to Cafe Brazil in Dallas, okay, and I remember at one point just laying down on the table in a restaurant with a bunch of people around. My thought being this: if this like freaks her out, yeah, this isn't gonna work out, because I'm a little bit eccentric and I'll do some goofy things, and if this freaks her out and this is kind of like a deal killer, then this is probably not going to work out. So I kind of just literally like laid it out on the table, like, this is what you're getting into. And she looked at me like, what are you doing? But it wasn't like, oh, we're done here. And I was like, all right, cool. So I haven't like gotten up and laid on any other tables in public. But
no, not yet.
No, but that was like the thing. And it was, I'm sure anybody watching it was probably like, he's drunk or high or something's wrong. But no, I was just I guess kind of letting her know this is who I am, and I hope this doesn't terrify you, but better now than later.
I gotcha. So you moved back from LA to Dallas after you've been doing all of that. What was the move once you got to Dallas? Were you trying to still do music? I mean, obviously you're still doing music now around, but what was the plan? Because was it one of those things where you're like, what do I do? What's my next step now?
I think so. It was like twofold, right? There's the plan that is the forever plan, which is the wife and family and kids, right? That was always the plan that was probably the most important. Okay. And then it was also partially, as far as the career and everything else, was sort of that the other plan didn't work. And I was tired of trying to force something that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go back to Dallas. I'm going to see what's there. I'm going to see what opportunities are there. I'm going to get a job, right? Like, you got to just make some income. I'm going to just start moving forward with life. I just got burned out, and I was like, I'm just going to go back and just start to live, and we'll see where it goes, see what opportunities show up. And at one point, I basically dropped. I got so burned out and frustrated with music that I could quit music for like probably a good year and a half. I barely played anything. I barely did anything, didn't write anything. And I just sort of went full into I just need to work, and we're having a family. We had our first daughter the night before our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Like, our anniversary is the September 17th, and our daughter was born September 18th. She was born September 17th at like 11:58.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So we didn't have like, our plan was to 3 to 5 years we'll start having kids. Nope. 3 months. So it was like, at that point you go, what's most important here?
Exactly. What type of work did you do when you got?
Man, anything, right? I was just working jobs. Because the goal wasn't to build a career.
Yeah, it was just
the goal was just to get a job. So I worked at, my brother-in-law has a window washing company. I did that when I was younger, and so I did that for a little bit when I got back. I did just a bunch of different stuff. And then I kind of, a few years down the road, I kind of fell into video production. And so that sort of turned into a business. But I kind of bounced around, was miserable a handful of different places, and then found what I'm doing now, which is, something I love, and allows me to also pursue passions. And finally finding that balance has been pretty big.
How did you end up getting back into music? I did this. I had kind of the same, arc that you did a little bit too, where it was like, do acting, comedy, and everything like that. That was the main focus. Then I found the girl that I wanted to marry, and it was, I'd rather have a family and be with her. Yep. So it was like, get a job. I have no idea what I'm going to do, because the last 15 years it's been trying to do this thing, right?
Yep.
And then we got married, and once we had our first kid, I was so focused on building an actual 9-to-5 career that I stopped doing comedy. And then a few years later, found myself back into comedy. How did you find yourself back into music? Like, how did you get back to that?
So I think at one point, and I don't remember exactly when it happened, I just remember being miserable and realizing I can't not do music. I just don't have it in me to just give this up. I will be miserable and I will regret it. So I just picked up the guitar again. And then in like a span of like 2 weeks, I wrote like 6 new songs that were better than anything I'd ever written before.
Because you've experienced life now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I stopped trying to be something else. I spent a lot of years trying to be what I thought music wanted from me and trying this stuff in LA. And it's like, record this song and try this and do this and do this. And it was like, I don't care. Music doesn't have to be anything for me. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. So now I'm doing it because I love it, because I'm passionate about it, and I'm going to do it however I want to do it. And if that somehow turns into a career again at some point, awesome. And if it doesn't, that's okay too, because I'm doing it because I love it. And so, yeah, it was just it turned back into that, and I found the joy in it again. I found the excitement of performing and playing again.
Yeah, because you touched on something like that. I had the same. I'm sure in anyone does any type of, any artist, any passion type job where it's like you said, I had to do it because I was miserable. Like, right? Like, it's like, I have to do this thing. And it's funny because I'm sure you've had people ask you this before or something along this where it's like, do you regret like not making it? Do you get that?
They don't ask me that because that those words exactly. But there is that moment where, people are like, oh, so what happened with all that?
Yeah.
Because you're clearly here not doing that. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I was thinking about it the other day that I think in my life I have both overachieved and underachieved. I've done far more than I thought I would and also far less.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of one of those funny things where you can go back and try to replay it and figure out what I should or could have, would have done. But also it would have been a terrible thing for me to find fame right after American Idol. It would have been an awful thing for me personally because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I believed. I was figuring things out. And I don't think it would have been good for me as a human to be in that world. So in a way, I'm grateful.
And do you think too, like if you would have found fame at that point in your life, you probably wouldn't have been doing the things that you actually wanted to do, right? It would have been whatever the industry was forcing you.
Yeah, 100%. It would have been me saying yes to a lot of people. And then, you find yourself down the road going, why? I don't even like this music. What am I doing? Yeah, 100%. It would have been that. And I would have had to walk away from a lot of things, because that industry didn't want me to not be single.
Oh, no, it didn't want a 21-year-old married man.
No,
not
chance.
At all.
No chance. 100%. And I was like, yeah, I would have had that choice. I don't know if I would have had the maturity to pick the one that would have actually been the right choice at the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think in a way it's sort of, I don't know, you want to call it God's provision that it didn't happen like that. And I am looking back on it genuinely grateful. It's a little bit like that high school thing we were talking about earlier. I wish it would have happened at the time, but then looking back on it, I'm like, for me, I wasn't mature enough. I don't know what I was doing. In hindsight, it was absolutely the best thing that I wasn't there just because of me, right?
Yeah.
And I just know that.
Well, and it's like, I'll have people ask me sometimes too, like, do you regret like going the office job side of it and just doing comedy in Dallas and regional and stuff? And I'm like, not really. I mean, everyone thinks that in order to find success in something, you have to have like all of it. You have to have it's like, we can find pieces of success in all different things. Like I've got to be on like big commercial sets and like TV shows and got to do comedy like at cool places. And then I get to go home to my family.
Right.
Right. And so it's like, I still get to do this cool thing that I can do. It doesn't mean that it has to be 24/7.
Well, and I mean, the thing that people don't know who haven't been inside that is that you don't find purpose in it. It's fun. You can have a blast, but at the end of the day, the show ends.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whatever you just did is over. And it might have been awesome, but then you're back to looking for that high again. You're back to looking for that for, fulfillment or whatever else. It's a never-ending chase if that's who you are. If you make that your life, it's like you'll never catch it. You'll never catch up to that purpose, that joy, that fulfillment. And so it's like you have to have that outside of it.
Yeah, because you're in the best spot right now as an artist, like that in any type of art form that you can do. Where it's like I don't, like you said, it's like I don't have to do any of these gigs. I'm doing the gigs that I want to do, and that's usually when most of the gigs come. Then, like the good gigs come, because you can be like, no thanks, I don't want to do this. I don't have to do this.
Yeah,
whatever. You're not desperate. You don't seem desperate. You're actually doing like the fun stuff.
Yeah, and that's what's been interesting is I moved back to Dallas and now I'm like several years removed from all that stuff, and now I'm playing more places than I ever did before, and building more of an organic group of people that know who I am, that know that I do music, that know me for more of who I am. Because you get on American Idol and people think they know you because you sang an Elvis cover. Or you sing, and it's like I was just singing whatever I had to, whatever week it was. Like, you have no idea who I am, but they think they do after the show. And so now it's like, maybe you know me from back then, but probably not. Or you might barely remember you watched a YouTube video. Yeah. But getting to introduce myself to people with music I really like that, being able to do that. And then they find out later that, oh, this happened a long time ago. I much prefer that situation.
Are you working on like some originals right now? Like, do you have music that's out right now, or working on some stuff right now?
Yeah, so I'm working on an album. It's just figuring out how I want to release it. I've got a bunch of songs that I'm really excited about, and I've played them all over Dallas, and I've teased them in different places and done little YouTube videos on some of them, stuff like that. But I'm trying to find the right producer, and that's the hardest thing, is finding the right producer, because I play guitar and I sing. I don't know how to produce. I don't have that ear for it for whatever reason. And so it's just trying to find that person or people who can see the vision that I have and turn it into a reality and bring something else and bring what they do and their passion and their talent. So that's been one of the biggest things, is just trying to sort that out. But that is what I am working on. And I finally have a group of songs that I want to release, that I actually want to do something with. And again, I feel like me singing and performing, I'm better than I've ever been. So for me, it's like, it's a good place because all that's true. And I also don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it takes a lot of the pressure off, and then it's just doing enjoyment stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you just do it because you love it. And also, it's kind of awesome to do this now because I have 2 little girls, and they love it. They ask me to play my music, and they think it's great, and they sing along. And when they come out to a show, they've never met a stranger, so they're going up to people and just saying hi and becoming best friends, and they're dancing around. So if they come out to my show, they'll be dancing in front of me, like, because they're little ballerinas. And so I'm just sitting up there singing, and my daughters are dancing, and like, it's just having a blast, And like, I wouldn't trade that.
Yeah, no, because you wouldn't get that if you were on tour, or if you were doing something that you didn't even enjoy. Heck, you might not even have the daughters, right? Like, if you were doing all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you probably in the best spot. Man, Tim, I appreciate you coming on, dude. Like, where can people find you? Like, how do they find your shows? Where do you mostly perform at?
Yeah, so I'm up in Salina a bunch.
Okay.
I play in Salina, like, I think I have 6 shows in March, and all of them are in Salina.
What spots in Salina?
So I think I'm playing at Roller Town.
Okay.
There's just some different like little spots around Salina that I post up for a few hours, right? So there's Roller Town. I'm up there on some day. All of this stuff will be posted on like my Instagram and stuff like that. Instagram. It's all under the name The Real Tim Urban. And the reason it's The Real Tim Urban is because there was another Tim Urban who was on The Apprentice.
Okay.
And he also did a TED Talk, and he's actually smarter and more famous than me, but when I was on Idol, he was mad because he was like, he stopped being the most famous Tim Urban for a minute. And so I made my Twitter, all my handles, they're all The Real Tim Urban, just kind of poke fun at that guy. But yeah, so it's all The Real Tim Urban. So it's all in there, but it's mostly up in Salina at the moment, looking for spots more down in Dallas. But Salina's a cool spot.
Sweet, man. Well, guys, make sure you check out Tim at The Real Tim Urban on all the different platforms. Make sure you go out and see him at a show. You can find me on Instagram at Michael Pasvar, or check out michaelpasvar.com. Shows that I have coming up when this episode comes out. March 24th, I'll be at Hyenas Comedy Nightclub in Dallas. I'll be at Rollertown, just like Tim is, March 26th. And then March 30th, I'll be at Addison Improv. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.